Hello. Hi, guys. I hope you are doing great. I just need to make sure I have um, this part on so that I can see any messages that are sent and make sure that I can see the messages, just in case. Yeah. Okay. I have that set up. I got you set up. Doing another one of our book club, book coven meetings. I'm not entirely sure what's the best way to call it. I kind of like calling it a book coven meeting, but I don't know if I want to consider us as like a coven thing. So maybe it's more of like a book club meeting. I don't know. What do you think would be a better name for it? Do you think should I continue calling it book coven? Well, I will continue. Wow. Okay, hold on. Words. I will continue calling it like in the descriptions and in YouTube as like a book coven meeting because that is a really good hook to get people into it. But when I like talk about it, is it better if I call it book coven or like a book club? Because it's kind of both. I don't know. Anyways, hello, my name is Elena and I'm enchanted to have you be here on my channel. This is our weekly book coven meeting, book club meeting. And we are continuing going over the book Elemental Witchcraft by Heron Michelle. This is our fourth meeting for this book, and we're really like digging deep through it. The last three meetings are up on my YouTube. There's blog posts corresponding to them, so you can go check them out as well. The one for the last meeting is not up yet. I will upload it once this one is uploaded. Yeah, but there is corresponding blog posts to every book meeting we have had, and you can find that down in my description below and that sort of thing. I haven't been the best at it. I do try to post it like 24 hours after the video goes live. That way I can see the YouTube transcript for what I said and all the comments and whatever, just to make sure I'm not missing anything for the blog post. But I'm really bad at remembering to going back and finishing the blog post for it. Hi Lightfoot, good to see you here. So I need somebody who like follows me on Instagram and after 24 hours realizes that I didn't post my blog post to like remind me about it. That would be great. I will do my best to set like reminders and stuff, but if you want to keep me accountable, that would be even better. So for this meeting, we are going over pages 79 through 102. So those are the couple pages we're going through. And as usual, I'm just going to start off with one of my favorite quotes or sayings or something from this book, and then we'll just go page by page. Now, if you are following along with an e-reader that does not have page numbers, we are starting with the second meditation practice and going all the way until the start of chapter 5. So that's if you're not following alongside with page numbers. But starting off with my favorite quote, I mean, I guess it's kind of a quote, but it's more a little bit of like a saying she says. It's a quote. It's officially technically considered a quote, but I feel like it's more of like a funny thing that she kind of said, and the way she said it is what got me intrigued. So it's on page 88, and it's right under the Wheel of the Year photo she has. So she says, "The great work of magic forms the bones of my witchcraft practice, but the skeleton is fleshed out through the celebratory cycles known as the Wheel of the Year." I like that. I don't know. I just feel like that just has such a quirky way to talk about it. Especially spooky season is coming up, so like the whole skeletons and scary, spooky, all of that type of stuff. But I like the way she phrased it. I like the way she talked about it. And if you have a favorite quote, let me know either in the chat here now if you're hanging out with me, or if you are watching this later, down in the comments below or on the blog post, just wherever. I want to hear your thoughts on your favorite quotes, that kind of thing. So, starting off with, if you hear noises in the background, that is my dog. Starting off with page 79, and we're going to talk about the breathing relaxation, the meditation practice that she has for it. And going through it, I liked it, but I feel like it's kind of difficult to go about it while you're reading, since it has, take a long pause, then continue, and like breathe through your nose, and then take a long pause, and then continue. So like that's the whole practice thing, which would work great as a guided meditation. And I think what I'm going to do is record myself doing the guided meditation based off of this book and posting it, and then like attaching it to this video too. That way, if you're somebody like me who struggles with reading and meditating at the same time, then it might be helpful for you. So I will try to get that done this week, maybe. Well, I'm going camping on Thursday, so before I leave for camp, within the next 2 days, I'll try to get this up. Okay, yeah, I think I'll be able to do that. Yes, I did like this meditation, although I was not in my room of meditation that she introduced you to, or she like introduced you to finding. When she did the first meditation thing, I was like in my own safe space in my head. But I did like the her way of telling you to shake out any tensions and that sort of thing. Lila, you okay? My cat and my dog are having a moment and trying to get my attention. Okay, they're okay. So that full practice part of the meditation is on page 80. And if you've done it going by the book, let me know like what techniques you've used to like remember it and try to follow it along. I just kind of read over it a little bit and just did my normal meditation and kind of like winged it. I did look down for the affirmations that she has, which are pretty nice. She includes that the information from the 4 rules of personal sovereignty in affirmation form. So things like, I am whole and complete within divine love. I am trustworthy in thought and deed. I am compassionate to myself and all others. I am beneficial in my life and society. I am sovereign within my sphere of influence. I am mindfully engaged within divinity. I am a perfect child of the goddess. I am loving, I am lovable, I am love. Blessed be. So I do like how she puts that there. I may have reworded it to kind of fit me a little bit better, but that sort of thing. But then like afterwards she says, rest and quiet meditation for 20 minutes or so before like returning. I feel like that is definitely an advanced skill to be able to meditate for longer than I'd say 10-15 minutes is definitely a higher up skill. I have ADHD. I have been a practitioner for how long? Over 17 years? Over 18 years now? I still cannot really do a meditation that's much longer than 15 minutes. A guided meditation, yes, it's a lot easier, but I like it, and I'm very awed by those who can do a longer meditation. But the whole process of going through, the visual cues already kind of takes time. And then after that, she asks you to sit for about 20 minutes. I struggled. I can't really do that well. And if you can't do that well, that's okay. If you can, that's amazing. And kudos to you. I'm a little bit jealous if you can. But I would say rest and quiet meditation after you go through this for like at least 5 minutes. And then if you can go longer, if you can stay at peace, that sort of thing, you can extend it to as long as your time of the day allows. But when you first starting off, I would suggest just sitting there for that 5 minutes at least, and don't try to keep pushing yourself for that entire 20 minutes if you're starting to feel antsy or uncomfortable, or just like your meditation is kind of like broken. It takes time to learn it, to be able to go, longer and that sort of thing. So if you cannot do it for that long of a time, it's okay. You'll learn it eventually, or maybe you won't. You'll just find something that works best for you in your own unique way. At least that's my perspective on it. Moving on. Okay, then we're going into chapter 4. Right, the next page. So she talks about the pentacle path, the microcosm and macrocosm, and she explains those two things, and I have some notes going alongside over it. So as the microcosm, it is the inner magic for the individual, each which levels up to a greater state of awareness on their own journey of self-realization within the greater flow of unfolding nature. And this ties in perfectly to what I just said in regards to meditation, how if you can't do it for the same amount of time as somebody else, it's okay. You go at your own pace and what works for you. So I like how she puts that down, especially the part that on their own journey of self-realization. So it's unique for everybody. I need to stop saying There's no reason for me to just keep saying Let's see, on to page 85, which is continuing on with the microcosm. So she talks about that the goal of one's true will for this lifetime is also referred to as one's sacred mission. So that's nice how she brought that up. And she talks about how witches are of this world, and they oh wait, no, I moved on too fast. Going back to the sacred mission, do you know yours, or do you have kind of like a clear understanding of what your goals are, what you're moving towards? I believe that sometimes people have more than one, and that at times you are very sure of like a specific goal and you will do your best to work towards it, to get to it, and you might achieve it, and that's great. But then you might have something else afterwards, especially if it's something a little bit of a shorter thing. So she doesn't really talk about or expand on one's true will for this lifetime. In regards to the sacred mission, I don't think some people might have just one, some people might have multiple. You might have little goals along the way until you figure out what's your like main one, that sort of thing. But the most important thing you should do is just follow your intuition and just what seems right for you. Currently, my goal is I would like to open up a little boutique, in-person boutique in a little shop, so I can sell my artwork, my jewelry, that sort of stuff. But a big part of it, I also want it to be like a library based on pagan and spiritual book, kind of have like a safe place for people to come and study and hang out, and at the same time have a space to do little workshops or rituals, monthly things, and that sort of stuff. So that is my goal that I'm working towards. Before I can get to that goal, the little goal beforehand is I need to finish learning my German. And I had a very big exam on Saturday. that I had to study like crazy for because I took my official like government mandated German language exam. Like I'm at the B1 level. Yay me. If I passed, that is. Okay, moving on to the other part that she talks about. Um, she says that witches are of this world, and rather than deny the flesh, we witches are encouraged to dance, sing, feast, make music, and love as praise. I like that because I don't think that's something that should be denied to anybody. So definitely be encouraged to find things that bring joy to you and that sort of stuff. And I do believe that witches are of this world, but I also believe that witches are not just of this world, that we're kind of like an in between. So I don't know how to further explain that. So I kind of agree what she says that witches are of this world, but I also don't want to say that we are just of this world. I think there's more. There's more to us than just that. Onto the topic of the macrocosm, which is the outer magic for the world, which she demonstrates as helping all of humanity to level up in awareness. So, yes, I do agree with that. And it does seem that with a lot of the stuff going on in the world right now, politically and just socially, and a whole bunch of other things, that it does seem that people are waking up more from just kind of following one specific rule or one specific book, which I'm happy. I don't know. What do you think about that? Because it definitely seems that people are becoming more open-minded. Sorry, that's my husband in the background making noise. It definitely seems that people are becoming more open-minded towards natural religions and not just going by the invasive orthodoxies, as this book calls them. So, another part she talks about is that the nefarious mysteries of the witching agenda, which just sounds so spooky and I love it. So, these are the nefarious mysteries of the witch's agenda: to innovate compassionate, beautiful things for so long and so well by so many of us until humanity fully awakens into enchantment. Then maybe we can fully realize our paradise here on earth. And I love that. I like our nefarious mission. What do you think about that part? Okay, on to the next page for defining magic. And she goes over her definitions of magic and taking it from Aleister Crowley's definition of magic. If you're hearing a bunch of background noise, I am sorry about that. That would be my husband. Anyways, so Aleister Crowley, which is the founder of magical tradition known as Thelema, defined it as magic is the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will. And then she talks about how the power of nature is neutral. That power may be formed by intentions, directed by will, manifested through physical actions, and empowered by emotions within divine love. Then voila. So I do like that explanation. It is very, 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 very simplified. A way I like to also describe magic is that it's a science we have not fully understood yet, have not fully discovered yet. And I think it's just a very brief way to describe the isness, the magicalness around us, but a good way to kind of get that started. Then we get into much deeper things in regards to astrology. So, starting off with the auspicious timing through astrology, she talks about that the trick to witchcraft is in knowing which actions to take and when they will be most effective. In regards to timing and then astrological happenings, that kind of thing. Which, yes, timing it with the seasons, with the moon cycle, with the astrological happenings, that kind of thing, the way that the wheel is turning, even specific times of the day, that has all of that has specific correspondences to it, specific energies to it, specific little things to it that will enhance your magic. But you do not need to be completely perfect following all of that in order to be a successful witch or to be successful in your magic, in your rituals, in your spell work, and that kind of thing. So it's yes and no. I don't like having the thought that you need to be so strict and rigorous with it. Like, oh, I want to do, a releasing spell. I want to release some bad habits and that kind of thing. And I thought of doing this right now, but the best time to do it is when it's a full moon because the full moon wanes and it releases energies, that kind of thing. So the full moon is in 2 weeks, and I can't do this spell of releasing my bad habits or bad thoughts because the moon is not in the right spot. No. If you feel really strongly that you want to do a releasing or an abundance magic or any kind of type of ritual, like you feel truly being called to it to do it then and that, if it's not perfectly aligned within the cycles, it is okay. I think it's okay. I think a lot of practitioners who have been practicing for a very long time would also say that it's okay. But having that like full on strictness of like, oh, I can't do it because it's of this, I can't do that because it's of that, or any sort of thing, it's I don't like that. And yes, as Lightfoot had said, follow your intuition. That is the most important kind of magic. Let's see. Then she talks about that the astrology part can seem technical and complicated at first. However, I promise that if you live by the tides of nature long enough, it ceases to be academic. Yes and no. Again, going back to the whole thing of I don't think it needs to be super strict in how you go about these things. Yes, if you follow the seasons continuously, if you honor, the Sabbats and the Esbats and that kind of stuff, it's all just going to come naturally to you and it'll be more in tune with your intuition. But again, if you feel called towards doing something specific, and then you decide to look up, the zodiac chart and the Scorpio, and it's not, Scorpio season, and you want to do something that's Scorpio season related, you don't have to wait. You could if you want to, but depends how far away that timing is going to be. You might lose that ambition. You might lose that ambition, lose that focus, lose that kind of calling for what you wanted to do. Am I making sense? I'm not against following the wheel of the year. If I can do it, I do it. I do my altars for every season, that sort of thing. But I don't hold myself super strict to it. Then we get into the wheel of the year. I do like the image she shares here with us, so I'm just going to show that to you. Make sure you could see it. I think it is very nice from the book. And right under that is my favorite quote that I shared previously. I'm going to say it again. It says, "The great work of magic forms the bones of my witchcraft practice, but the skeleton is fleshed out through the celebratory cycle known as the Wheel of the Year." I like that. Then she gets further into the astrology. So the rest of this section up until the next chapter, she's explaining quite a lot of things, and it gets kind of technical, which is good because this is literally a textbook on witchcraft. So she has a chart in regards to the modality and the cardinal points of each zodiac. So, for example, Capricorn is cardinal, element earth, Scorpio is fixed, element water, Virgo is mutable, element earth, so on and so forth. She has information on that, and she goes into like good descriptions of it. On page 91, she talks about a book called Practical Astrology for Witches and Pagans by Ivo Dominguez. Ivo Dominguez. I don't know how to pronounce his name perfectly, but that seems like an interesting book, and I want to know if any of you have tried it or read it or heard about it. This is the first time I'm hearing about it, so yeah. Um, then she talks about how the modalities, which is the zodiacs, they have transcendent qualities as well as immanent qualities that become visible through the behavior of the elements. They exist separate from each other, but they also arise from each other. You may think of modalities as operating both above and below the elements, and as the context and environment within which the elements exist. So each zodiac position, each modality has its own specific correspondence, its own specific energy, but based on time and place and space and what's going on, they are influenced by the other modalities around them. So that is that. Moving on to the next page. I'm gonna have a sip of water. How she talks about continuing to talking about the zodiac pairings in regards to element, polarity, and modality. And then she talks about Jessel, okay, and Wettershins, Wettershins. And I don't know if I have been pronouncing it wrong my whole entire life or if it's a different way of pronouncing it, because I've always pronounced it as Dazzle, but she has the pronunciation J-E-A. So it's spelled D-E-O-S-I-L, but it's pronounced like J-E-H-S-H-E-L. So was I pronouncing it wrong my whole entire life? And how do I pronounce that properly? Jeshel? More like a Deshel? And it means sunwise. And it talks about spirals, clockwise spiral. Then we have Widershins, and she pronounces as Widershins. I say Widershins. I think it's like a potato type of thing. Anyways, but there was like a little bit of a moment where I kind of wasn't sure if she was making full sense, since she talked about how the sun moving around the earth is clockwise. And it's not. The sun does not move around the earth moves around the sun, and the earth moves around the sun counterclockwise. So then I had to reread it because she talks about not the actual sun moving, but the relative appearance of the sun moving. So she's talking about the sunset, sunrise type of thing, and how it seems like the sun is moving clockwise around the earth. When I first read it, I was just like, huh? And if if she did not clarify it the other way around, the credibility of this book would have really gone out the window for me. But she explained it differently. And then she talks about Widdershins, which means moonwise, and it spirals counterclockwise, as does the way the moon revolves around the earth. So, moon revolves around the earth counterclockwise, but the earth also revolves around the sun counterclockwise. I don't know. That's a little bit of a new thing for me. I've always known docile or Jeshel is clockwise, and it's to take in energies, bring in energies to increase and build things. Yeah, I just read it on there. And then I've always known that Widdershins is a counterclockwise, and that is to release energy, to deconstruct things, to move things like away from you. So that's all how I've been practicing my witchcraft over time. This is the first time I'm kind of hearing it that it's in corresponding to the sun and moon. Maybe I just like missed it from before. I don't know, but that's what we're at. um, On to the next thing. She talks about how these categories should not be judged as good or bad, curse or blessing. And no, they should not. One is just one direction, the other is a different direction. It's all part of the balance. So she talks about it not being a cursing or a blessing, benefit or bane. And then she says, effective witchery does not impose a false dichotomy of their white or black magic or a light or dark path, as this language is highly problematic, steeped in colonialism, etc., etc., etc. But she did kind of talk about things in a slightly different way from our previous meeting. So I feel like she's kind of contradicting herself again. And for our last meeting, we did extensively talk about the non-existence of white or black magic and how there's nothing really that's completely good and completely bad. We really talked about, the balance and perspective and that sort of thing. And I did like the sparkling water example sort of thing. Then later on in that little section, she talks about, for example, for a beneficial cure for cancer, I'd work Widdershins to curse those baneful cells into oblivion, but it would be compassionate, ethical, and effective medicine to destroy that bane to restore overall health. Yes, but also kind of no in regards to perspective. And again, she's talking about curses here, and then trying to create a reasoning for the whole, curse of why that curse is being okay. And she again contradicts herself and compared to previous things she said in the previous chapters. So that's kind of what I'm noticing thus far. Let me know if that's something you're picking up as well. Like, yes, I agree with her. Cancer is bad. But if you take it into a different perspective, it's also a living cell and you're cursing it. So you could play it either way. I don't really like her explanations for these things. She seems kind of contradictory because if you really think it on like a logical, direct point, it doesn't really make sense. If you do it full on more with like interpreting things, then it kind of makes sense a little bit more. I don't know how to go about that, but she does contradict herself. Moving on. Now here's another thing that I don't really like. So she put up a chart here in regards to the elemental tides, which I've kind of seen them in a slightly different way. in regards to it being a solar or elemental cycle, but the way she explains it, I accept her reasoning behind why she calls it that. So that makes sense to me. I can agree with it. But she does have a diagram here of what's light half of the year and the other part is a dark half of the year, which just does not make sense to me because it's talking about summer being the darker part of the year, and Samhain on this end is towards the lighter part of the year. So to me, this explanation does not make sense. Now, if you are in the southern hemisphere, that will definitely make perfect sense. But seeing as she is from the United States and writing in the perspective from the United States, this does not make sense. I've always seen as summer being, part of the light half of the year, and autumn is when it's starting to get darker. Samhain is part of the dark half of the year. Winter is still dark, but that's starting to, get lighter. And then springtime is part of the light half of the year. The way she has it here, I don't like it. It doesn't make sense to me. um, then she talks about how a solar year spans between the spring equinoxes, and it's roughly 52 weeks, in which we have 4 seasons. And then she talks about how it's 13 weeks per season, revealing the magical number of 13 of the witchcraft on Earth. So I like that. And we have 12 months of this year, but like, could you imagine if we had 13 months in a year? Not like an extra month, but just all the days would be, I think it's going to end up to be about 28 days, which is the lunar cycle. So, yeah, that could be a whole conspiracy theory talk in regards to the modern calendar and how it's trying to get us away from being in tune with nature, that kind of thing. But it's always interesting to see just in comparison to what we do as a society, as like a people of the world, in comparison to what nature is doing. And it always baffles me why we don't follow nature as much, because it makes sense if you do, since we are part of it. But no, there's other things. I can get into a whole big speech about it. Moving on to the next thing. Um, in regards to the lunar cycles and spots, so she talks about how the moon has the most dramatic effect on earthly life. And I would agree. It is the closest, astronomical, closest astronomical thing to Earth compared to anything else. Yeah, it's not astrological, astronomical. I'm forgetting words. Um, anyways, I do agree with it that the moon has a really big effect on us as people. It has a big effect on us as magic, in regards to, time wise and all of that sort of fun things. And then anytime I would have a conversation with someone who's talking about how, oh, the moon can't be magic, the moon doesn't have that kind of power that you think it does, and they just kind of try to brush it over, saying that it's, a big rock up in the sky away from us. I always like to bring up pointed out science, like actual science, in regards to what the moon does to Earth. It literally pulls the Earth towards it, and that's how we get the water tides. It has such a big effect on our gravity, on the way that the water moves, on the way that the clouds are formed. Just like scientifically, things have been proved and studied. There is a really big there is really big evidence to what the moon does to us on Earth, to like nature around on Earth. What makes you think that people are excluded being affected by the moon? Even if you just forget any of that witchy woo woo magical parts and stuff, you can't say that the moon has no effect on you, because it does. It literally has scientific evidence behind it affecting the water. Guess what? You are made up with a lot of water. So, of course, the moon is going to affect you as well. You are not excluded from that phenomena, if that makes sense. Therefore, if you continue including that little witchy woo woo bits and pieces into it, it makes total sense that the moon has a very strong influence over your magic, your power, your spell work, that kind of thing. Am I kind of making sense? I feel like I did like a really big example on two different spectrums, and I hope the connecting bridge between the two is understandable enough. Okay, moving on. She also has another chart in regards to balance of sun and full moon on the pages there, which she briefly talks about. And she talks about turning the wheel of the year and following the descent into Samhain. And she also mentions the holidays, the Sabbats, like Imbolc and Ostara and Beltana and Letha and that sort of stuff, and the corresponding energies that go alongside with it. When like the energies are for release, when is for rest, when is for, planting and growing and sowing your magic and intentions and intuitions. As I've mentioned earlier in this video here, yes, it's great if you follow alongside with the Wheel of the Year, and it will be more effective because there is that much strength and correspondences in those energies. But if that's not how you're feeling and you feel too called to do something else, to be in a different, spot, to and you experience things differently than what she describes here, that is okay. For example, here she talks about how summer is a season of high energy, and you really get into gear for getting stuff done and getting work done and that kind of thing. I don't know about you, but I do not function well in heat. Not that great. So when it's super, bright and hot out, especially here in Germany because we really do not have any air conditioning, summer for me is a time more for rest. Because when it's hot and I'm dying, because that big yellow thing is so close to us, I no matter how much willpower I have, my body just says no. We are gonna take a nap instead. We're not gonna go in full on power through. So follow your intuition and what works best for you, and try not to go against it. There's some ways that you can kind of like match alongside with that. So instead of, physically putting in work, you could do more work alongside the spiritual side when it, for the seasons for the more work thing. But in reality, follow your intuition, follow what feels best for you. Like for now, for me, it's starting to be, fall. We're very close to Samhain. It's just, a month away. It's literally just a month away. And this is when I'm starting to get like my energy back. Like here around this time is when I'm feeling more called towards my spirituality, especially because of Samhain. I feel very connected to it and that sort of thing. But it's just now is when I start feeling like doing all the things. and not during like the summertime. Let's see. Lightfoot says, I have good intentions in spring, but global warming has caused my climate to be too hot outside. Yeah, and I think that's kind of where I'm at too. There's a lot of, you know, you might want to do things mentally. You might have a lot of plans. Like if you know, if you go through and make a plan for your year, like if you do it on Yule or if you do it on January 1st, whatever, you know, feels best for you, that kind of thing, you might have like things mapped out, because sometimes I have done that before I realized how to follow, you know, my body, my intuition, my cycles. And then if it comes to around that time where it's too hot and my body is giving up and I still have, you know, plans that I've set aside for, I start to feel kind of shitty because I didn't do those plans. When in reality, I need to kind of just adjust the scheduling of it and not really follow completely 100% based off of this. So you do not have to do everything how she says, how she puts it. It's good to know following the wheel of the year, and we will follow the wheel of the year on her recommendations, you know, continuing on with the book. But you do not have to feel like you're supposed to be feeling these energies exactly as it's explained. You are you, and what works best for you, have it work best for you. So we can study this, we can try this out, and that's the whole part of, you know, the crafting of the witchcraft. You craft, you do things, you try things, you find out what works for you, what resonates best for you, and what makes you feel, you know, the best. And then here's another little thing. So remember I showed you the chart and how I didn't like in regards to when it was saying that it's getting, you know, the dark part of the year and then the light part of the year. So that chart doesn't really make sense. But here she says, as the mutable season of autumn wanes into darkness, elemental tides shift back into the projective earthly lessons of silence and reflection once again. So her explanation does make sense in regards to like the dark half and light half part of the year, but that chart does not. And I don't like the discrepancy. I need your thoughts on that. If you're going through the book, if maybe I'm understanding it differently and you see it in a different way, but I need your thoughts on that kind of like discrepancy. Then we're on to section 2, which we are, well, we're done with the book club for this part. Section 2 starts off with chapter 5, but right before it, she talks about, in section 2, we'll discuss the foundation of elemental magic. Now, this is page 102. This is where we're like ending our book chat today. In section 2, we'll discuss the foundations of elemental magic inherited by Wicca and how the powers of earth, air, fire, and water are symbolized by the witch's jewel of power. We'll map these powers onto the human energy system to align the fivefold self, interlacing with Hindu chakra systems. Then we'll shift into practical application of elemental power in Wiccan ritual techniques, including the elemental tools, laying and consecrating an altar, casting an energetic temple, opening the elemental gateways, and evoking the god goddess. I really wish that at the start of this book there was a better like advertisement of which magics she is using the most in this book, because reading through it, she talks about elemental witchcraft, it talks about, you know, modern witchcraft, it talks about how she has a wholly unique system of the magical practice that incorporates ritual magic, journey work, and spellcraft, you know, etc., 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 and how she teaches you the foundations, some of the philosophies, and understanding like other like different parts. But thus far, and we have read, you know, almost a third of this book, majority of the ideologies and the influences that she has are from the Wiccan religion. I am not against the Wiccan religion at all. I just wish this book would have said that it draws heavily upon the influences from the Wiccan religion, because it's going to continue on through the next chapters to pull in more from said religion. It's not a bad thing. It's also not the best thing either. Because if somebody claims to have, their own unique way of it, and then about, I'd say maybe like 60% of the things, more like 70% of the things that are happening are based off of the Wiccan religion, I am not loving it. I like her explanations and certain things. I like how she talks about certain ways, but this is also very heavy Wiccan based. Um, I think at the start of, mm, I don't know if I want to go back and re-edit, my descriptions of the book. So when I started in the book club, maybe at the end of the book, I will do like a big overall overview and like review from the book, and I will mention that it is strongly influenced by Wicca. But other than that, we shall continue, reading on to the next chapters and to the next thing, because I'm determined to get through this book. I like some of these things. There are things that I have not, encountered yet. I am learning, even if I'm learning of things that I do not like. You're still learning. But we will continue on with this book. So far, with what you have read and what you have done, let me know your thoughts, your perspectives, your interpretations from these. Um, Leave comments, that sort of stuff. I definitely want to hear your feedback from it. Otherwise, I'm just going to continue plowing on with mine. And that is okay too. For the next book club meeting, we're going to be going over pages 103 till 132. So from page 103 to page 132. Now, if you're following along with an e-reader, that does not have page numbers. So we're starting with chapter 5, the elemental basics, and we're ending right before the third meditation example. So yes. Now, I will do the little video in regards to the guided meditation based off of this book and post that in case it was challenging for you to kind of read and go over it, that sort of thing. I'm going to try it for this meditation and just see how it works, see if it's something you're interested in. When I post it, and if you did go through it, and let me know your opinion on it, like comment on that video, because there is another meditation, and if I get like good feedback for it, people do like it, it has been helpful, I will try to get that meditation up at the same time, or like when we're doing the book review, or try to get it up before we do the book review or something sooner. I don't know. I just want to know if it's something that's going to help you. So, anyways, that is our book, and that is our discussion for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, enjoyed hanging out with me. I liked you stopping by. If you hung out with me the whole time, or if you just popped in real quick and left, or if you're coming to rewatch it later, it is awesome to have you here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, the whole shebang. We have tons of magical fun here, and I will see you on the next video. I love you all.